Welcome back to G Fun Facts Online, the channel where we dive deep into the science behind the world around us. Today, we're tackling a topic that's literally all around us, but often invisible, a chemical lurking in many common plastics. It's called D2-ethylhexyl phthalate, or DEHP for short. Sounds complicated, right? But what's really concerning are the significant cognitive and cardiovascular health risks that recent research is linking to this widespread chemical. So grab your thinking caps because this is a big one. So what exactly is DEHP? It's a chemical that manufacturers add to plastics to make them more flexible. Think soft PVC, vinyl products. The problem is, it doesn't always stay put in the plastic. And research shows it can get into our bodies, even crossing the placenta to affect developing fetuses, breaching the blood-brain barrier, and showing up in breast milk. This means it can impact neural development right from the earliest stages of life, all the way through adulthood. Let's talk about the developing brain first. For pregnant individuals, exposure to DEHP can seriously impair fetal brain development, potentially leading to irreversible brain damage. Studies are associating this exposure with reduced learning capabilities and memory impairment in offspring. We're also seeing links to lower intelligence and a higher risk of developing conditions like depression, anxiety, cognitive impairment, and even autism spectrum disorders. Children are especially vulnerable because their brains are undergoing critical development. DEHP exposure can delay these vital processes, leaving lasting negative impacts on their cognitive function and mental health. It's pretty sobering to learn that studies have found higher levels of DEHP metabolites in children's urine compared to their parents. Why? Well, partly because their bodies metabolize it differently, but also because of common childhood behaviors, like, you guessed it, putting toys in their mouths, toys that might contain DEHP. Now, let's look at what animal studies tell us about neurological damage. In these studies, DEHP has been shown to impair brain growth and actually cause neurodegeneration. That's the progressive loss of structure or function of neurons. It can decrease the growth of neurons, increase the degeneration of axons. Those are the long threads that neurons use to send messages, and even alter levels of important brain lipids, like sphingomyelin and phosphatidylcholine, especially in the hippocampus, a key area for learning and memory. DEHP exposure is also linked to increased inflammatory factors in the brain and reduced testosterone levels. Now, testosterone isn't just a male hormone. It plays a crucial role in neural repair and cell survival for everyone. DEHP can mess with this by reducing testosterone concentration and the expression of androgen receptors in the brain, which are needed for testosterone to do its job in nerve differentiation. So what does this mean for behavior and mental health? Well, exposure to DEHP has been connected to an increased chance of learning disabilities, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, more anxiety-like behaviors, and reduced social interactions. And here's a really concerning thought. Some studies suggest these negative behavioral effects might even persist across generations. Imagine that. Another way DEHP can harm the brain is by disrupting the blood-brain barrier. This barrier is like the brain's bouncer, super important for protecting it from toxins and pathogens. But research indicates DEHP can weaken this defense. In animal models, even subchronic exposure, that's not quite long-term, but more than a one-off, has been shown to increase the permeability of the blood-brain barrier and trigger neuroinflammation. Finally, there's some research suggesting that DEHP's neurotoxic effects might hit males harder. For instance, studies on rats found that hippocampal atrophy, that's shrinkage of the hippocampus, and anxiety-like behaviors were observed more in male rats exposed to DEHP. However, it's important to say that research on whether DEHP's neurotoxicity is sex-dependent is still ongoing, and the results aren't always consistent, so more research is needed there. Okay, so DEHP is clearly bad news for our brains, but the concerns don't stop there. Emerging evidence is now strongly linking DEHP exposure to some pretty significant cardiovascular health problems. Get this. A recent global analysis estimated that DEHP exposure contributed to over 356,000 deaths from heart disease in the year 2018 alone. And that's just in individuals aged 55 to 64. This chemical accounted for more than 13% of global heart disease mortality in that specific age group. That's a staggering number. Certain regions like the Middle East, South Asia, East Asia, and the Pacific seem to bear a disproportionately high burden of these deaths. For example, India had the highest number of DEHP attributable heart disease deaths in this age group. So how does DEHP harm our hearts? Well, it's classified as an endocrine-disrupting chemical. Scientists believe it contributes to cardiovascular disease primarily by triggering chronic inflammation in our arteries. Think of it like a slow burn that, over time, can lead to heart attacks or strokes. DEHP and its main breakdown product, a metabolite called MEHP, have been shown to directly impair calcium signaling in cardiomyocytes. Those are our heart muscle cells. Calcium signaling is critical for muscle contraction, so if that's messed up, it can lead to muscle contraction failure and impaired cardiac function. On top of that, endothelial dysfunction, that's when the lining of your blood vessels doesn't work properly, and increased vascular resistance have also been documented. This isn't just theoretical. Epidemiological studies, which look at patterns in populations, suggest that increased exposure to DEHP and other similar chemicals called phthalates is associated with a higher risk of developing hypertension, that's high blood pressure, and tachycardia, which is a rapid heart rate. Overall, it points to an increased risk of cardiovascular diseases in general. Some studies have even started to link DEHP exposure to an increased risk of myocardial infarction, a heart attack, and arrhythmia, or an irregular heartbeat. And as you can imagine, these health impacts, particularly the deaths from cardiovascular disease, also come with a massive economic price tag. We're talking billions of dollars annually due to healthcare expenses and lost productivity. It's a heavy burden on individuals, families, and society as a whole. So where is this DEHP hiding? Unfortunately, it's in a vast array of everyday products. We're talking food packaging, medical devices like IV tubing and blood bags, children's toys, cosmetics, cleaning agents, and even building materials like vinyl flooring and wallpaper. It's quite literally everywhere. How are we exposed? Primarily through ingestion. For example, when DEHP leaches from food packaging into the food itself. But we can also be exposed through inhalation, say from off-gassing products, and even through dermal contact, meaning it can be absorbed through our skin. The reason it's such a problem is because DEHP has an unstable bond with the plastics it's mixed into. This means it can easily leach out, migrating into the environment, our air, water, soil, and subsequently into our bodies. So to wrap things up, the widespread presence of DEHP and its potential to cause serious health issues, from neurodevelopmental problems and cognitive decline in our children and ourselves, to severe cardiovascular disease, clearly highlights a significant public health concern. It's a chemical that we're exposed to daily, often without even knowing it. The good news is that more research is ongoing to fully understand exactly how DEHP causes this toxicity and, crucially, to identify safer alternatives. Regulatory actions to reduce DEHP exposure are also being considered and, in some places, are already being implemented. While this information can be alarming, being aware is the first step. It underscores the importance of staying informed about the chemicals in our environment and the products we use. Perhaps it's a call to look for products explicitly stating they are phthalate-free, especially for items used by children or for food contact. That's all the time we have for today on G Fun Facts Online. We hope this deep dive into DEHP has been informative. Remember to do your own research, stay curious, and question the world around you. If you found this valuable, please like, share, and subscribe for more science facts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.